Hello, and welcome to the Thyroid Warrior podcast. I'm Ebony, and I'm here as your wellness facilitator. I'm going to be sharing my experiences in managing Hashimoto's disease. I really hope that it'll help you on your personal journey. Keep in mind, however, this does not substitute for medical advice. It is only for your information and motivational purposes only. Now, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Today has been an interesting day, but last week we kind of started talking about other conditions and how to really work your way up in terms of really showing yourself that you can be your best self despite having those other conditions. And today what I actually wanted to do was transition into talking about that exact thing. And in my case, that would be IBS or irritable bowel syndrome. So for those of you that are uncomfortable at the idea of talking about poop or anything related to the GI system, you can go ahead and just pause now and listen to next week's episode. So just before you go, I wanted to remind you guys about my Thyroid Basics mini course. I said I was going to close the doors tomorrow, but I decided against that. And just for my podcast listeners, if you all go on and sign up for the course, I'm going to leave it open until the end of the month. So you still have a few more weeks to sign up for my Thyroid Basics mini course. Everyone that I've talked to that has gone through the course is just like, oh my goodness, what on earth? Why have you been hiding this from me for so long? And also, just to give you guys a heads up, if you don't already know, 4 modules. The first, we're going to talk all about mindset. Second, inflammation. Third, which is my favorite module, and that's self-care. And lastly, we're going to give you some tools and strategies on how to really live your best life and stay on top of things, because brain fog is real and we all know that it is not fun. So if you need to get to that course, which why not? It's amazing, but it's bit.ly.com/thyroid basics, BASICS course. Again, it's bit.ly.com/thyroid basics course. So go ahead, sign up. I'll see you inside the course. We'll have fun. We'll talk about all the great things and not so great things, but in a calm, cool, and constructive way. But now I'm going to give you guys a minute. You can go ahead and press pause if you're going to leave me now. But for those of us that are ready to just jump right in and get into the details, we're about to do that right now. So I am really happy about this episode. And the biggest reason why I'm happy about this episode is because everyone in my life has always been like, why are you always talking about your stomach hurts or you have to poop or wait, nope, you're constipated today. What's wrong with you? So I have IBS or irritable bowel syndrome. If you have any idea of the struggle, then you'll know why I get really excited when I can actually feel comfortable talking to my friends about it. And I consider you guys to be my friends. So yay, thank you. But I think it's a taboo topic that we don't talk about enough. And I feel like a lot of things can be avoided if we just talked a little bit more about those strange and uncomfortable things that go on in our gut. So think about it. And this was me a couple years ago. One day I would have a stomach ache. Okay, fine. Maybe I ate something off. And then the next day my stomach started to hurt. And then all of a sudden I have cramps. If I'm stressed out, forget about it. I have awful cramps, uncontrollable pain, nausea, diarrhea. My stomach is upset. And then all of a sudden, I'm doubled over in pain. I can't tell if I'm going to vomit or poop my pants, and it's just one big mess, literally. So I often was just uncomfortable. I could barely eat. Being social, not a chance. Dates, nah, not doing it. I didn't know when I was going to have that quote unquote episode or what was going to happen. If could I eat something? Could I eat dairy? Could I eat fruits? Could I eat vegetables? Could I drink? Like there were so many things that ran through my mind on a regular basis. It literally stressed me out. I remember I went on a date with my husband, and it was hands down one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. Hands down. So my husband really loves beer. Me, not so much. But there are some things that you do in a marriage. You compromise. Well, I wanted to impress him on our first date, so I decided to take him out to a brewery. It was on the water. It was special. It was romantic. It was cool. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to walk along the pier. It's going to be great. Well, I didn't realize that wheat, not my friend. Gluten, yeah. Beer, yeah, bad. So we ate. Now, mind you, I'm not a beer drinker, so I had never really been exposed to beer besides just thinking it was gross and not liking it. Now, I remember I went to the bathroom, I came out, and we were walking to get his car. And all of a sudden, I was like, that's odd. Why is my stomach starting to hurt? Can you just give me a minute. I'm like half hour from home. We'll be home. Hopefully he'll just say, hey, give me a kiss on the cheek and just leave. But I wasn't sure. So I'm kind of just trying really hard to just shift my weight as we were waiting for the car to come from the garage. But I feel like as every moment passed, my cramps got worse and worse and worse until all of a sudden I'm kind of bent over, but I'm trying to stay cute and I'm trying to stay cool, calm, and collected, but I'm really in pain. And I feel my armpits starting to sweat and I'm like, oh God, no, this cannot be happening to me right now. And my hands are starting to shake. And he's kind of looking over at me like, are you all right? I'm like, I'm fine. I'll be okay. But it just got worse and worse. And then all of a sudden I started to get nauseous and I'm like, oh no. Finally, the car comes. I turn the air conditioner on full blast because for me, anything cold that can go on my stomach, my chest, and the back of my neck can keep my nausea at bay long enough for me to either take a Tums or a papaya enzyme. If I get to one of those two things, quote unquote, in time, meaning before my mouth starts to water with that, oh no, I'm going to vomit, I'm okay. Totally shouldn't be something that you have to worry about on a regular basis. And I should not have this timed, but I do. I have approximately 12 minutes before bad things can really happen. Anyway, here comes the story. So we're in New York. New York has traffic. That was hands down the longest 30-minute drive of my entire life. Like there were bumps out of nowhere. Suddenly he had to jump in and out of the lanes. And I'm like, oh God, wait, no, please don't wait. Oh my gosh. I'm holding on to my stomach. I'm trying to sit up, but I'm trying to lay back because I don't want to feel like I'm going to vomit. But then as we go over the bumps, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to poop my pants. This is so embarrassing. He's just in la la land. I'm like, thank the Lord the radio exists because he's talking to himself really. I'm just saying, yep, yeah, that's great. I'm really happy for you. And he just has no idea what I'm going through in the passenger side. Why? Because that's embarrassing. I'm a girl. Your girls are supposed to be cute. Girls don't talk about their poop. It's awkward. So we literally got to my apartment. I have no idea, but somehow I got out, sprinted to the door, opened it. I have no idea how my husband got into my apartment. No clue, didn't care. I needed to go to the bathroom or else it was just going to be a really bad first date. But I got in the bathroom, showers on, water's running, windows open, head in the tub because I'm not quite sure what's going to happen. It was awful. So I'm like trying to get myself together, clean myself up, get in the shower. I always keep an extra change of clothes in the bathroom for these moments. But I finally just come out. To me, it felt like forever, but I'm sure it wasn't longer than like 10 minutes. I come out. He's sitting on my couch watching television like, hey, you feel better now? And I literally died on the inside because I'm like, why are you in here? How did you get in? I don't even know how I got in my apartment, to be very honest. What? So it was at that moment where I was like, okay, this can't continue to happen. But of course it did because I didn't do anything about it because, you kind of sort of just, unfortunately, sometimes we just deal with just being uncomfortable and in pain when we don't have to be. So this continued for quite some time. Ironically, he wanted to go on more dates with me. I didn't know what was up with that, but I was like, okay. Finally, I just got tired of being in pain. I was really depressed. I never wanted to go out. I was afraid to eat, especially at night, because I would be up for practically all the night from cramps and pain and diarrhea and nausea and vomiting. I would spend part of the night sitting upright because my stomach was just so sour. But then I would go in the bathroom and fall asleep on the floor, which no one wants to live their life this way. And I'm exhausted at work. I can't perform. I'm losing weight like crazy. And every excuse that I could find to not go out with people, I found it. So if you need a handbook of excuses of why you can't go out, let me know. I'll hook you up. But, this was almost 2 years. 2 years. I went through this, and you may say, well, that's dumb. Well, it would kind of go away after a while. And then all of a sudden, I didn't even understand the triggers that would make my stomach feel this way. I just ate what I wanted, did what I wanted, and was fine. If I had a stomach ache, I'm like, okay, I'll just, take some Pepto-Bismol and be done with it. But I said, you know what? I am going to try just plant-based. I'm going to try this whole vegetarian thing. I'm going to see if the meat that I'm eating or meat, I didn't even associate it with bread or gluten or anything like that. I just was like, you know what? I'm going to eat vegetables. That's safe. My stomach likes vegetables. But even with the vegetables, I was bloated. So I just didn't get it. So once I actually found my endocrinologist, she started educating me and asking me the questions and really helping me to figure out, okay, these are your thyroid levels. This is what's going on with your other blood work. Tell me more about your stomach and what's going on. And she's like, Ebony, I really think that you should consider going to see a GI or a gastroenterologist to figure out, what's going on with your gut because, we talk about what you're eating, but I think something's just missing here. And I don't want you to have, some crazy gut bacteria that you didn't even know about and you've been suffering. But I definitely think that you need to build your gut back. I need to build my gut back. Okay. Not quite sure what that all meant, but I was like, okay, fine. Do you have a recommendation? Of course she did. So I went because, even though I was losing a lot of weight, I was bloated and uncomfortable. And I took every opportunity to unbutton my pants and hello, flowy tops, because that was like, whoever invented those tops, they get a gold star, because they literally would just let me unbutton my pants and no one would ever know. Great. Now, before I went to the GI, I had this great idea. I said, you know what? I'm going to write down what I've been eating, all of my symptoms, and perhaps, I don't know, kind of got spoiled with my endocrinologist and got used to her talking to me about everything. I'm like, all right, if I don't have that luxury with my GI, at least I can have it all written down and just go right through it, because I worked at a hospital and I knew how some doctors could be very straight to the point. They don't have very good bedside manner, and I needed to be able to get what I needed, get in, get out, be done. So I wrote down my food for the week. But what I didn't write down was everything else that was going on. Now, I worked at a hospital, worked in New York, downtown. Everything's go, 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 go. Stressful work life because we had all these projects going on. You know, I'm still trying to figure out my whole thyroid situation. So I'm just like, I just got used to being stressed out. Again, that's not good, but it is what it is. I'm embarrassed to admit that I even let those symptoms go on for 2 years, but I mean, when you don't know, you just don't know. But I changed all that. So I got to the GI doc. It was a beautiful sunny day. I had on a nice dress because I'm coming from work. I go into the doctor's office and we sit down, introduce myself, tell her why I'm there, talk about my symptoms, and she's ready to examine me. So before I get up there, she's about to, lift my dress up so that she can kind of feel around. And she's like, wait, do you have on underwear? I'm like, yes. She's like, I'm sorry. I've had that day where everyone suddenly thought I was a GYN and decided not to wear underwear. So I just need to check. I'm sorry you experienced that, but I have on shorts too, if that makes you feel any better. And she's like, okay, great. I'm telling you, I had the most bizarre and hilarious experiences when I go to the doctor. I'm just saying, like, we can talk about that some other time, but it's pretty freaking funny. Anyhow, she's like, all right. She's examining my abdomen. And I didn't realize, guys, just how sore and just uncomfortable and bloated I was. It really almost brought me to tears because I just didn't understand, like, why was I feeling that way? And she started asking me questions as she's examining me, like, okay, well, how's your stress level? What's going on? I'm like, well, I work at Mount Sinai. And she's like, yeah, you're stressed out, and she's asking me about everything going on in my life. And I'm thinking in my head, I did not think I was coming to a therapy session, but all right. She asked me, when you eat your lunch, are you taking a real lunch break or are you eating at your desk? How does that work? When do you eat? What times do you eat? And naturally, I have my handy dandy food journal that I have been writing in. So I was able to tell her these things after I was sitting upright. But, it was a really eye-opening experience for me because I couldn't understand why she was asking me all these other questions until she told me, she's like, Ebony, stress can really have an impact on your gut. She's like, that's considered like your second brain. There's so many nerve endings there. And, you have to be really mindful about that stress that you're under. The other thing, though, was she had a lot that she really wanted to go over with me. And again, I wasn't expecting that either. I was happy about it, but I was again, when I found out what was wrong in terms of my thyroid and I was super happy, I was like, ooh, I'm going to eat a cheeseburger after this. But naturally, my stomach literally growled at that moment, was like, yeah, no. I'm like, okay, great. Never mind. Just kidding. So she talked to me about a couple of things. First, she wanted me to do a stool sample. And I was like, I'm sorry, you want me to do what? You, what? She's like, yeah, a lot of people kind of grimace at that, but we need to understand like what your gut bacteria is like. And she said, we need to do the stool sample because we have to make sure you don't have something called SIBO or H. pylori or C. diff. All of those bacteria that wreak havoc on our gut system, or even if there's another bacteria that you have going on that's causing damage, we need to figure out what that is. Okay, I have to get this myself. Like, she's like, yes, here's everything for it. You have to do this. And she literally just spelled it all out for me. I'm like, I'm at a new level. This is definitely an all-time low. Okay. All right. She's like, I need you to make sure you do it at this time. And, it's really simple. You just have to smear. I'm like, smear? Ew. Like, ew. So I said, all right, what else do you have for me? She said, well, what you could do, I could prescribe you Prilosec, or, you can take a Pepto-Bismol tablet before you eat so that it could coat your stomach, and it would make it easier for you to eat without the discomfort. It would help the bloating and all that. I'm like, I don't know if I don't like Pepto-Bismol. It's disgusting. She's like, well, you take Pepto-Bismol or have bloating and upset stomach. I'm like, okay, fine. All right, check. Pepto, got it. Then she said, well, if your symptoms don't get any better, here are our next steps. I'm like, next steps? What? I'm still stuck on the fact that you want me to take a stool sample and you're talking about next steps? Oh boy. But she said, if your symptoms don't improve, then I have to think about a colonoscopy and or an endoscopy, because they have to figure out, all right, do you have diverticulitis? Do you have proctitis? What's going on in there? We got to figure this out. And we also need to make sure that you don't have a lot of issues with stomach acid, and your esophagus is good, which PS side note, I did have low stomach acid at the time, which makes sense as to why things were so spicy, but I digress. So the thought of having something go up there, and I have a really bad gag reflex, so the thought of something going down that, I just didn't. I've said enough in one episode to make someone else uncomfortable, not going there. But here's what I thought was really cool about her. And she's like, okay, now I understand we have these, you can take the Prilosec, you can take all these things, you can take the Pepto, but there are also some other more natural things that you can do based upon what I've seen in your food journal and how you tend to approach your food and your diet. We can think about doing some other things as well. And she's like, peppermint oil is really good for helping your stomach. You can do crystallized ginger. You can try crystallized ginger. And you can also try a probiotic. Probiotic, huh? Interesting. Okay. So she literally gave me both options and said, I'm not telling you that you have to do either or. You have to figure out what works for you, but whatever choice you make, I'm going to support you in that. I was just like, man, this is amazing. This woman is still telling me I have to take this stool sample, but she is making me feel really good right now. And that just gave me hope, because ultimately that's what we all have to have. It's just hope that things will get better. But I got really excited. I did do the stool sample. It was as bad as I thought it was going to be because naturally, everything that could go wrong went wrong. Those details I will definitely spare you of because I don't want to relive them, but it was bad. Got the sample. We figured out, what my gut flora was looking like, and I definitely was in need of some gut repair. And yeah. So we're going to talk about how I started to repair my gut for next week's episode. Now, like I said before, since you stayed to the end, don't forget about signing up for my Thyroid Basics mini course. The link again is bit.ly/Thyroid Basics course. And I will talk to you guys next week. Okay, Thyroid Warriors, get out there and take things one step at a time. Remember, be great, reflect on your triumphs, and as always, be well. Take care.